Okay. It's 8:05. I think we're ready to begin. Welcome, everyone. It's good to see you all here. Thanks for joining us this Tuesday. Hope your little break of classes has been good to you all. I didn't really get a break because I am working. How fun. Anyway, so glad to have you here. Just a few things. So obviously today is week number 2 of our first session, round robin and final table. You'll all have a pretty equal chance to make the final table by doing well with in the standings. So the competition is still wide open. Good luck if you make it far today. I want to pass the torch off to Warren for a second. Warren had an announcement surrounding club dues, and after that, we'll hear from Cole and then start playing. So, Warren? You sound good. Yes. And what we were planning on doing is we want to have the club open to a lot of people. So we have the lessons posted. We have the community. You can talk freely among yourselves. Attending meetings is free completely. It's the ability to earn prizes. So earn the Amazon gift cards from the final table. That's the only kind of paywall we're putting up with these dues. So it's still very open, but just like I said, we do want to make sure we're not going to go broke by running this club. So thank you all very much just with that. Alrighty, Cole. Are you ready? Yes, I will turn off my video and you can do it through Discord. I will do it through Zoom on my end. Yep, I am pulling you up right now. There you go. You look good. Sure thing. I'll watch you.
On the flop because basically you just want to get to showdown. They're usually going to be good in small pots, but not good in big pots. So you want to just get as close to showdown as possible. And then also you're going to have draws. And so your strongest draws are going to be flush draws where like you have two hearts in your hand and there's two hearts on the board. Um, the odds of a flush draw are somewhere between like 33 and 36%. And then you also have straight draws, which come around 32% of the time. And so you got to remember that that's by the river. you only have like 16% to hit a flush draw on the turn. So if someone bets like half pot on the flop, but you know that they're going to bet like, let's say they're crazy and they always like overbet the turn. Well, actually, this would be a really good spot to just call anyway, because if they're overbetting the turn, you're going to have some crazy implied odds when you do get there. But basically, you want to be betting your premium hands, which is basically top pair plus on the flop, and your draws, your strongest draws. And then you want to be checking your marginal hands, which are going to be weak top pairs and second pairs. And you also want to be checking like all your junk hands, and that's going to balance pretty well. But a lot of the times, you can also bet for what's known as like equity protection. So on like super dry flops, like 3-3, 8 or something like that, you can bet and your opponent is going to have to fold a lot, just because like you can bet with ace high there, knowing that you usually have the best hand. Because like think about it, let's say you're on the button and early position raises and you call with queen jack offsuit, which you're not supposed to do. You should just fold queen jack offsuit. And this is a great example of why. And so let's say the pre-flop aggressor has ace 10 suited, queen jack offsuit, and the board comes out 8-3-3. They see bet small, and you're just gonna have to fold. There's not a lot you can do. I mean, you have 2 overs, but that's not really enough to really start chasing down, just like one pair outs. Which is why being the preflop aggressor is so powerful, because on boards where like when the board misses your range and your opponent's range, you can just bet and take it down a lot of the time. So on the flop, as the preflop caller, I kind of talked about this a little bit already, but you pretty much always want to check. You always want to check to the preflop aggressor, especially against tough opponents, because tough opponents will crush you with range advantage. Like if they know that you are very capped in a spot, then they will make it so you're playing for your stack by the river, and you are just going to hate your life when you have top pair bad kicker, and now this guy like raised you on the flop and overbet the turn and shoved at the river. So you pretty much always want to check, and you don't really want to be leading. And another reason to not be leading is because it's incredibly difficult to balance a leading range on the flop as the preflop caller. Because if you think about it, like what a lot of people do is they lead with their marginal hands, which is really bad, because when you lead with your marginal hands, it kind of makes it so that every time you check, your opponent knows that you just have nothing. So if you're leading with your marginal hands, then basically it sets you up so that your opponent can just bet every time you check and take it down. Justin, were you about to say something?
No, you're good. I accidentally made a mistake on Discord. Go right ahead.
Okay. And so generally, most players don't check raise very aggressively on the flop. But generally you want to check raise your strong hands on like draw heavy boards for protection, and because you also are going to want to check raise a lot of your bluffs, or a lot of your draws on these draw heavy boards as a bluff, which is why it's important to also raise your really strong hands. Like for example, in the tournament I played this weekend, I under the gun opened and the small blind called, and I had 7-9 suited in the big blind. And so I was getting like, he opened at like 6x, which is kind of crazy. But in these live tournaments, everybody's kind of crazy. And we were over 100 big blinds deep. And I was still getting like 3-1 on a call because the small blind called also. And like 7-9 suited is very playable. And The flop came 5-7-9 with 2 clubs. So kind of like just the dream flop for me, flopping top 2 there. And so small blind checked, I checked, and the pre-flop aggressor bet like 2/3 pot or something insane. Which like never, like I shouldn't say never, but rarely bet that much, especially on a board that does not hit your range very much. So basically, as soon as he did this, I knew he had an overpair, because like what hands is he doing that with? Like maybe he does it with pocket nines sometimes, but usually people aren't going to fast play top set that much. And plus I have 9-7, so I block top set and second set, and he shouldn't even really be opening pocket fives all the time from under the gun, and he's definitely not doing it 6x. So basically, and because of the player, I knew he wasn't playing a draw like this. So I went ahead and raised because I basically knew he was going to be scared of the flush draw and the possible straight draws that are out there, and he jammed all in for like 125 big blinds. This was like this was in like the second orbit of the tournament, and I called and busted him. So basically, that's why you need to proceed with caution on boards that you don't have range advantage. And that's also why you want to check raise with your draws and your strong made hands, because he was thinking I just was check raising him with a flush draw. So he wanted to go ahead and get all the money in. Because, you know, if I did have a flush draw, I only have like 35%. So I don't know. Post flop is definitely one of the hardest things to navigate in poker. Just
I've got
because
a question for you, Cole.
Yeah, go for it.
So what about your check calling range? So you were talking about those marginal hands before, like if you lead out with those marginal hands, like when it comes to checking with them, what do you think the cutoff is for like your check calling range? Or when would you want to check call?
I mean, I'm pretty, like, if it's heads up on the flop, I'm going to check call like pretty much any pair. Unless, you know, maybe like I call with pocket threes from the big blind and the flop comes like ace, jack, queen or something. That's it. Like I would definitely just check fold that, especially against an early position raise. Like I know that they're just going to be betting an ace high board a lot of the time, but like with pocket threes, you know, what's my continuing range on the turn? Gonna look like he's gonna bet the turn a lot of the time, and I'm just gonna have to fold. So,
what would you consider like a strong draw that you might want to check raise with compared to like just an open ended draw, or I don't know, like a gut shot, like check calling with your draws.
I mean, I usually check call with draws just because everyone usually bets pretty small on the flop, so you're just getting a great price to continue anyway. I generally choose to check raise with a draw if I know a player is like c-betting too much and I don't think the board hits them very much. I will also check raise when I have like range advantage. So if the board is like 6 or 7 high and the early position pre-flop raiser is like c-betting, I'll check raise that sometimes with like a gut shot or something like that, you know, like a little bit of equity, but you know, obviously very happy if he just folds, because I mean, obviously sometimes you're just going to run into like aces, kings, and queens, so you can't just like always go check raising against what looks like just a c bet, because it is just going to be an overpair sometimes. But yeah, definitely check call with pretty much any pair on the flop. And then, I mean, obviously if you know someone is just never betting unless they have top pair or better, which if you go and play live 1-2 at these card rooms is pretty much the case. Everyone checks unless they have top pair, and then they bet like pot. And so I don't know. It's just everyone plays pretty face up. So if someone's going to play super face up, you can exploitively fold even hands as strong as top pair. on the flop. But
Yeah.
generally,
Well, and you get into this, and I think this is really cool because it kind of ties into what you were talking about pre-flop, because you can, I mean, you get into this situation a lot more often when you have strong pre-flop play. And
yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
so it's, I mean, because we're talking about a time when your head's up, you're often in position, like you're not really going to get those at some tables. Like, I mean, I think, that, we're all guilty of it. I'm certainly guilty of it, is, we're like, 4 ways, 5 ways, family pots. And, it's I'm really to see what happens. But
I will say it is really important not to just blindly c-bet into multi-way pots. You'll hit the flop about like 33% of the time with any 2 cards. So let's say you have ace king, that's a premium pre-flop.
We've got 2 minutes, so I also want to make sure everyone else has a chance to ask a question if they had it. But continue.
Yeah, I'll finish this thought and then we'll open it up. So basically, let's say you have ace king. I mean, this happens a lot at low level poker. You raise from under the gun as you should with ace king, but then like 2 people call you, and then the blinds are like, oh, I'm priced in, so I'm going to call. So now you're 5 ways going to the flop, and it comes like queen 10 6. So like rainbow. So kind of a dry board. And you might think, oh, I'm going to have a lot more queens in my range, especially strong queens, than all of these people. And this might be true, but you can't really just blindly attack such a, so many opponents in a hand, because the big blind with that many people calling is priced in to call with pretty much any 2 cards. They're going to be getting 6-1 on a call. So they need less than 20% equity. So they could have hands like queen 6 suited and that sort of thing. And so I don't know. It's just this c-betting strategy is generally only when your head's up or 3 ways. And yeah, in multi-way pots, you just have to proceed with a lot more caution. And, it's going to be it might seem kind of obvious. You're just only going to continue with your strong hands, which is pretty much what you should do in multi-way pots. But trust me, people just won't believe you, and they'll just call you anyway. But proceed with caution in multi-way pots. And now I think we can open it up to other people for questions.
Okay, I guess I had one question. So when you're getting into position and you're starting to have hands like 8-10 suited, 8-9 suited in your range, what are you trying to do with those hands? You just trying to hit it or not and fold if you don't, or do you bluff with those hands sometimes post flop? What's your mentality with those kind of hands?
So I know exactly why you're asking about 8-10 suited. But so basically, part of the reason that these suited hands are in our ranges pre-flop is because they have a lot of equity, and a lot of times people are going to put us. Y'all can all see my mouse, right?
Yes.
Okay. A lot of times people are going to put us on hands like these, and so these suited connected hands are very good for. And I mean, you can see even under the gun, we're raising with 6-7 suited, and sometimes with 5-6 suited. So it's good to have these types of hands. So sometimes you do connect with these lower boards, so that the big blind can't just blindly check raise a 7 high board. And also, it allows you just being the pre-flop aggressor is just incredibly powerful, because you can raise with 7-8 suited from under the gun, and then the big blind calls and the flop comes ace king 2. And I mean, I know I said you should check with your junk, but you should generally see that an ace high board when the caller is like the big blind or the small blind, or your heads up. You generally just want to c-bet ace high boards as the pre-flop aggressor. And this is more so in single raised and 3-bet pots. Things get I won't get super into this, but things get a little weirder when you get into like 4-bet pots, and ranges are so tight.
The simple answer is range balancing.
Yeah, that is the simple answer.
Okay.
And basically, the reason why you would call a 3-bet with a hand like 10-8 suited, especially when you're playing 100 big blinds or more deep, is because it has a lot of implied odds. And I wouldn't necessarily advocate for calling with 10-8 suited if you're out of position. But if you're in position and you're getting a decent price, like it's a standard 3x 3-bet, then I think continuing with a hand like 10-8 suited is very good because of the implied odds. But for example, I would never even consider calling with 10-8 offsuit. You want hands that are going to be very playable, because if you flop a flush draw with 10-8 suited and you think the person is blindly c-betting into you, you can raise, and you have like 35% equity to hit your flush draw, but also you have what is known as fold equity, which isn't necessarily like quantifiable, but it is going to be like some percentage of the time, often a large percentage of the time, your opponent is going to fold to a raise on the flop. So with your equity of actually hitting your flush and the fold equity, you're going to be winning well over 50% of the time. And often your raise is only going to be to like a third or something of the pot. So for like a 1/3 pot raise to be profitable, it only needs to work 33% of the time.
Cool.
Okay, I think that's going to be it for today. We'll still, if you, excuse me, if we have questions for Cole, we can ask him while we're playing the game. But I think I should get you guys set up on their table so we can start playing. If you look at VC Text, you'll see I have posted the Table 1 link and Table 2 link. For Table 1, you got Tim, Alex, Jack Z, or otherwise known as Zenkovsky, Lawson, Jackson, and Nightlight. I don't think I have a name attached to you yet. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you'll be going to Table 1. Table 2, we'll do Justin, Cole, Kenji, Warren, Logan, and Jack McDonald. So click the link, put in for 200 chips, and we'll get started as soon as I see everyone's in, and I'll make sure Josh joins us. So
good luck, y'all.
yes. And I will stop our meeting.
I'm very happy I'm at
I think I might join.
Yes, it is. But I would use like a private tab on for if it's possible.